Hello everyone, apologies for the background. I'm not in an insane asylum. I'm actually working away and this is the accommodation we've been supplied, so ask questions later. But I'm Tom. I've been going through this process since 2022 and I just wanted to jump on here today to have a little conversation about hope and the process itself and how far I've come since then. So how far have I come? My main theme is ROCD, so relationship OCD. When I first started, was terrified of genuinely hurting the person I'm with now. So we've been on and off throughout the years. Anytime she started to show more affection for me, the more I was certain that I was going to destroy her life. I was going to ruin her life. She'll be devastated. I'm going to crush her. I'm going to move on. It's going to destroy her, so on and so forth. I had these terrible feelings of guilt, chronic anxiety. I couldn't calm down. I couldn't stop stressing. It got to a point where I would confess. I would ring up, cry my eyes out, saying I can't do this anymore. And she'd be like, why? And I'd be like, I couldn't say why, because of the amount of guilt of because this isn't the right relationship. I was certainty seeking, constantly trying to find the right relationship and holding these very high, unrealistic requirements for this relationship. Like I said earlier on, like I had also a very fairy tale being of love, and this sort of resulted in a lot of guilt, a lot of anxiety around her, to the point where we broke it off. I left it for about a year. I didn't know what was going wrong with me. I thought I had, what was it called? Commitment phobia is what I thought it was called at the time, commitment phobia, and I was watching everything on commitment phobia. Started telling her about that, but didn't do any work at all, just had a couple of sessions with a psychologist, and nothing was better, but I jumped straight back into it. Everything was fine, and then it hit me again. And this time, back in October 2022, so this is all beforehand, was the worst level of anxiety that I had had. It was what I considered a 10 out of 10. So from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, I was in a constant panic level, heart palpitations, anxiety through the roof, chronic guilt, going crazy, trying to control my breathing, many different factors which you've all probably been through and experiencing right now. Constantly unable to sit with the uncertainty of how the relationship was going to go. Oh, I found someone else attractive. What does that mean? Trying to not. I was just basically set that I'm going to ruin this. I'm going to ruin this girl, and I'm going to destroy her. And basically, I messaged because it was so bad and terrible. At the time, I felt it was that way. I thought it was awful and terrible. That's an important thing. That I just messaged her just to get to stop it and say, look, I can't do this. I thought I could. And I brought this girl back into my life and then did it again. She was really, really hurt, obviously, by this. But it relieved the sensations, wasn't it? Avoidance. And I gave into a compulsion of this absolute necessity to tell her that I couldn't deal with it. So at that point, I carried on. My life was okay, but I was completely, obviously, in fear and avoidance of certain things. And then I bumped into her again, and it just set me all off again. And I just knew I had to change at that point. So I went back on the search, started doing psychiatry again. And but again, it wasn't working. It wasn't working until I looked into OCD and I found OCD recovery. So I found Rob's channel and I started watching those videos and I was like, oh my goodness, this is all me. Everything I'm experiencing, this is all me. And when you initially see it, you just go into full lock-in mode. You're taking notes, you're thinking, right, absolutely everything you hear and see. But obviously that was compulsive. The best thing I ever did was get on one of those calls and speak to Rob. And Rob approached me in a different way that everyone else did. And I say Rob, I also mean everyone, because I've had Momin, the executioner. He was firm but fair, exactly as you need to. Nick, again, very, very blunt, funny guy, crazy guy, loves CrossFit. And then obviously I got Sam now, the man from Bristol, who was continually, as I've probably come quite far now, he is continuing to trying to keep me on the straight and narrow. I'm not recovered, but I'm doing a lot better, but I'll get onto that. The point being is that all the coaches approached it in a different way. Rather than sort of trying to look externally, they directed it to myself. I thought like everything else was the issue, that was the issue. But in fact, it was my thought process. It was how I was thinking about situations. And how I had such rigid, fixed beliefs. But in reality, these were just unhealthy, irrational beliefs that I was holding on to, which I need to start breaking down. So what did I do from there? Obviously, I got on the reading list. I smashed out all the 6 books. I've gone through them all twice, but that's over a couple of years, so remember not to do that compulsively. But I can't emphasize enough the importance of the books. Generally, it's probably close to impossible to recover without reading those. So if you haven't done so already, do so. And one of the most powerful things I did was actually disputing and breaking down these beliefs. And at the time, it doesn't feel like it's working, but if you stay committed, robust, and you don't do it compulsively. So I probably started initially compulsively, but I hands down built a format where I could keep it going, probably like 5 times a week. Just first thing in the morning, I do about 20-30 minutes of disputing, and I did that for 6 months. And over time, you don't just notice, it's not just like a magic click of the fingers. Over time, things started to change. I started to challenge myself more. I went towards things, and I actually got back in contact with my partner. And from there, I had that initial fear, but this time the levels were way lower. This sort of stuff that I was going through would have been terrifying for me, and it would have triggered me again. But it's literally brought me down, what used to be like a 6 to a 7 for a standard spike, and then up to worse of 10. Like I can probably sit around like a 2, a 3. Like at the end of this, I'll tell you a big story, which has probably got me to a 4, but I'm back down to a 2 again. So because I can rationalize it and I can understand that I don't need to get rid of this sensation straight away, because it doesn't mean necessarily that this is absolutely urgent. I need to address that. So am I recovered? No. I've still got a ways to go in my own opinion. I feel personally I would like to get on top of this and get everything down to 0, and I think that needs more work from my end, and it is a long process, strenuous process, but if you really want to get the most out of it, you have to be in there for you and keep putting in the work in, even when you do feel better. But in comparison now, it's worlds different. I feel a lot calmer with situations. So I went from potentially worried about I'm going to ruin this girl's entire life to now we own a house together, and the good news is she's 12 weeks pregnant. So that's the new trigger. I've got a kid on the way, and looking forward to it actually. And it's quite exciting. I told people, everyone knows about it today. It was week 12 today. And I am actually, like, obviously I'm at like a slightly raised level, but I'm okay experiencing these sensations. Even if they get worse, I understand that there's something for me to break down. This stuff gives you the tools to fix or to work on that recovery. I can't emphasize enough the importance of the stuff that Moman, Rob, Sam, Nick, and the rest of the guys whack out. The whole team is super important and invaluable. So what am I getting to? If you guys stick to the process robustly, not compulsively, challenge yourself, expose yourself to your discomfort, expose yourself to those triggers. And at first they will be uncomfortable, but you embrace the burn, and you will make improvements. If you don't, however, it's still part of the process, and you have to accept that this is not a linear process, and there's still challenges along the way. But overall, there is hope out there. I've improved massively since I've started. I feel so much more at peace in comparison to where I started. There is ways to go, but I am happy where I am at the moment, thanks to these guys. So again, I can't emphasize enough the importance of doing what they say, sticking to disputing, reading the reading list, of going towards exposures. Don't do any compulsions and don't avoid your fear. Challenge yourself, because you will reward yourself in the long term. Like I said, it's now 2025, 3 years later, but I'm doing a lot better. You can do this. There is hope. Stick to the process. Trust me. Me and many other people are the result of doing this. And I can't thank the OCD recovery team enough. Thanks, guys.